Thank you all for coming. I appreciate everybody being here to hear more about the uh, joining of forces of Africa Uplifted and One Village Partners. You know, for the past 20, almost 20 years, Lance and I and all of you um, have really been working to enrich the lives of the people of Sierra Leone. That was our motto, right? And we've been doing that for the past 20 years, and we've had a ton of success, not the least of which is the Doris Acton Community Health Center that has served, thousands of patients, and hundreds of babies have been born, and it's just really a great success story. Um, and of course, the primary school and the preschool and the school lunch program that is now serving over 400 kids every school day, which is amazing. I mean, those of you that have been there recently can just see the difference, the impact that that school lunch program has made to the community. But all of that is happening because of your efforts and your support of Africa Uplifted. And we just want to tell you thank you. And I'm trying not to get emotional because, as we thought about the next 20 years and what was going to happen over the next 20 years, we wanted to make sure that we were able to ensure that the lives of the people of Sierra Leone continued to thrive. And so Lance and I and our board of directors, started a search to look for a partner that we felt really comfortable with, one that was had very common visions and values as Africa Uplifted. And we really feel like we have found that in One Village Partners. And I'm going to introduce Jill Lalonde right now. She is the executive director of One Village Partners, which is based in Minneapolis. So I'd like to turn it over to Jill, and she's going to talk to you about who One Village Partners is.
Thank you, Julie. Welcome, everybody. It's really nice to see some familiar faces already as I'm getting to know the Africa Uplifted crew. And welcome and hello to the folks that I haven't met. As Julie said, I'm the executive director at One Village Partners. I've been in this role for close to 9 years, so have also a long history now with Sierra Leone and working in Sierra Leone. Though I'm not the first executive director and I'm not the founder. We were started in officially 2010 by Jeff Hall, who is a former Peace Corps volunteer who lived in Sierra Leone in the Peace Corps in the late 1980s. And then he returned back to Sierra Leone after the Civil War in the early 2000s and really started helping his friends and family from his host community rebuild after the war. And so those were the origins of One Village Partners. So we officially became a registered nonprofit in 2010, but our origins actually, we began right around the same time as Africa Uplifted, which is so funny and serendipitous that we're in this small community in the Twin Cities, or at least Julie and Lance were here at the time, right? And so two organizations founded around the same time, working in Sierra Leone out of a love for the country and a desire to help folks rebuild after the war and improve their lives. And so the way that we operate is we address multidimensional poverty by investing in people and communities. So our model is what some of you may be familiar with. It's called community-led development. It's where communities are front and center in what is happening in the work in their communities, which is also a value of Africa Uplifted. And so this was kind of the basis for talking about partnership. And when we began our work in the mid 2000s, we were working in three communities with about 3,500 people. So actually, for many years in our kind of origin, we were around the same kind of size and operating, scope as Africa Uplifted. But we, since that time, and really I'd say our expansion and more scaling of the work began around 2016, 2015, 2016. So now we're working in 70 communities and reaching about 75,000 people annually. Taylor, you can go to the next slide, please. So, for those who have been to Sierra Leone, this map will not be new to you. The dark green areas are where we operate with our programming. You can see, so we actually started in Kailaun district, and we were there for many years before in the like more recent past, moving into Kenema, and then this year moving into Kono district. So part of our strategy and our goals for increasing our impact have been to expand the number of communities where we're providing direct service work. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what that work looks like, what our programs entail on the next slide, but I'll stick here and talk higher level for just a sec. We've recently highlighted the Africa Uplifted district right in the north, where Minoko is, because this is also now where we're doing direct service work. In the light green areas, you see where we have partnerships that we're doing work with other partners. And so part of one of the goals that we have as an organization is to expand our impact across all of the rural districts in Sierra Leone, which is essentially that we want to have a presence in all parts of the country except in Freetown. That takes a different sort of presence and operations. But we're not going to only do that directly. We're doing that through partnerships with other organizations, with government, local players who have similar or have shared values and similar work where we can do better and more work together. So that's a little bit about kind of where we're going. And that's, I mean, maybe you're picking up on why this made sense for us also to talk about a partnership in a different part of the country, because we actually had been planning to move to a different part of the country when we started talking to Lance and Julie. And the communities we work in, while it's a different ethnic majority in the eastern part of the country, they're, I think, pretty similar in size and kind of overall demographics to where Africa Uplifted has worked. So they have populations between 500 and 2,000 people. They're quite remote, difficult to access. A lot of them don't have paved roads getting, actually, none of them really have paved roads getting to them, and access to basic infrastructure to meet people's basic needs like healthcare facilities and schools, basic sanitation. A lot of the communities are lacking these things. So this is why we really focus in what we call sometimes last mile communities or very like hyper rural communities. Taylor, we can go to the next slide and I'll talk about our programs for just a minute. So how does this all come to life then in our programs? Our community, we have three different programs, and I'll walk you through these before turning it back over. But our community action program, we move into a community and we identify leaders in that community who then work with everyone, not just the leadership group, to do a needs assessment. That group identifies what are their most pressing challenges. And then they again work with the community, but as a leadership team, to design and implement projects that whole community has set are their highest priority. So when I was talking a little bit ago about being community led, this is how it comes to life. Communities are leading not only the problem identification process of saying this is what we really need, right? But they're also doing the design and the implementation of the projects, which leads to long-term sustainability. We also have a picture-based women's financial literacy and business skills program. And in this program, and we use pictures because, as many of you know, a lot of women and a lot of the population in rural Sierra Leone does not have literacy or numeracy skills. But using pictures, women are able to learn how to budget, how to track their household finances, and then how to track their business expenses, how to look at profit and loss. All of these skills that then lead to increased household savings, improved decision making of women within their households, women using their voice in public. So we see both the kind of household impact and community impact from women going through this program, which, by the way, we also invite and include the husbands or men in their families to be part of that at certain intervals so that they're included and can support women in decision making from the new tools and skills that they have learned. Our LEAD program, which is our third program, is very similar to community action, but the difference is the LEAD program is where we invite communities who have already been partnered with us over 3 community action cycles. So when communities design projects, most of the time the first project is in water and sanitation. So it's either wells or latrines. Then they'll do a second project and a third project with us, right? So the partnership is lasting over several years. We work across areas. So, like I said, a lot in water and sanitation, at least at the beginning, but then we get a lot more variety after the first or second project with education. We're doing a lot of schools and access to education, healthcare facilities, some infrastructure projects. We have a community that built a bridge to access farmland and other opportunities for livelihoods. We've done livelihoods and income generating projects. So kind of all over the map, as you would expect, because communities are all very unique and have their own unique needs and challenges and priorities. So in the LEAD program, so after communities have been through 3 project cycles with us, they're invited into this larger cohort that is eligible for LEAD, which is we step back even further and communities apply to grants from One Village Partners. So this program came as a result of asking what is next after community action. Communities wanted and we wanted some continued relationship, but we also didn't want to. We wanted to have sort of a graduated or a stepping back approach that wasn't also just stepping out entirely. And so we worked closely with communities, and they identified that they wanted practice with grant writing, with grant management, with additional sort of program design and project management that they got with community action. So this is where the program came from. One really exciting thing is we have local community members and leaders who are scoring proposals in that. So it's even community led in the decisions about where money is being allocated, which we're really proud of. We did a lot of work on that to really benchmark it with what our goals were as an organization and aligning on that. But then in this program with LEAD, then we provide grants to communities to implement projects, and we're still there to help. We're there. We do a bit more hand holding than like a typical grant maker would do. We're helping on the proposal, making sure that people feel confident in what they're able to submit. But then we are stepping back further as those projects are rolling out. And I think one of the exciting things we've seen in the LEAD program is that communities sometimes partner with one another to have a more competitive proposal. And two, they're designing, sometimes it's more complex and kind of thinking bigger about what projects and that they could engage in. And so we've done quite a few health clinic rehabilitation and to really improve sanitation within the health clinic and access to those health clinics, which has had a huge impact on child and infant and maternal mortality. And so yeah, that's our LEAD program. I think I'm going to turn it back to Julie. Are you next?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Thank you, Jill.
Yeah.
Hopefully all of you could see already where our visions are so aligned just in, Jill's description of those 3 different programs. But last year, Lance and I were in Sierra Leone, and we took a few days and went to Kenema and met with some of the OVP staff that's on the ground. And they took us to a couple of their communities. And, actually, we just sat there and watched them do their thing. And honestly, just after that couple of day visit, we were like, yeah, this is exactly what we want for our communities. And their program and their thought process and the way they do it is so similar to the way Africa Uplifted was leading in our communities. And so because, our visions are so closely aligned, the transition from Africa Uplifted leading the programs to OVP leading the programs has honestly just been seamless. And, the clinic staff, Aminata, Frank, all of them, they're all still there. And the school staff is all still there doing their thing. And Paul, actually, those of you that know Paul, most of you do, I believe, he has been hired on by One Village Partners and is essentially doing the same job for them that he did for us. And so it really has been seamless. And for you, the donors, and for that matter, myself, can really feel confident that the projects that you have supported over the last 20 years are continuing. And we're just really excited about this transition. So at this point, I would actually like to introduce to you Sheku Gesamo. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, Sheku, but Sheku is the Partnerships and Program Director for One Village Partners, and he's based in Kenema, which is about, Sheku, you can correct me, but 3 or 4 hours from Minoko. And so he's going to talk to you about the specifics of what's happening and what the long-term vision is. Sheku?
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I want to say good evening from Sierra Leone to you all. Yeah, as you said, it's from here to Monaco is about 6 hours.
Oh, six. Yeah.
As Julie mentioned, I am the Partnership and Programs Director at One Village Partners. So this year we have been really excited about some of the things that we are doing currently, and one has to do with our expansion to Kono. So this year we have expanded to Kono to implementing our women's empowerment program in the Kono district. So Kono, as you saw from the map, it's also in the eastern part of Sierra Leone. So very closer to some of the other areas that we are also working. In Kono, we are actually targeting 12 communities and also reaching out directly to 1,000 participants. This is the first time we are doing this. And so that is part of the why we are very excited with regards how the leadership and the community members are taking ownership in terms of the program itself, but also how they continue to really strengthen community buy-ins with regards and this expansion. And I think we are learning a lot from this as we continue. Part of our expansion to Kono was actually as a result of a funding from the ADAX and ODAX Foundation that we had, and that's actually is a catalyst for our movement to Kono district. So Kono is a very democratic area, so it's kind of complex environment with different kind of people. So we are really learning a lot from this expansion. So another thing we are really enjoying doing this year is actually building trust and confidence. And so part of what we are doing currently really and absorbing the work that Africa Uplifted was already doing in Manoko is actually gradually building trust and confidence with leaders, community members, but also authorities in the Bombali district. You know, this is very important to us because building trust actually lay the foundation of how we continue to engage with these areas or people in this area, and also how we can get a better understanding of how the dynamics work in that area of the country. So we are really strategic and very systematic in terms of how we really want to continue to engage this area. So we go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so based on what we are currently doing is actually also taking over from what Africa Uplifted was initially doing in that part of the country with both the UMC primary school, the Doris Acting and clinic facility. All of these are like providing salaries, providing stipend to the staff, but also taking charge of the scholarship and also ensuring that the facilities are maintenance. All of this, we will continue to do that and without any interruption until 2028. So we really want to continue the energy and the excitement in the community and going on. So just from, so that people do not actually feel a gap with regards Africa Uplifted Living and One Village Partners taking over. So we really want to continue to engage and build up that momentum in the community. So part of the operation we are doing is also what we are looking at, the progress that we have made so far as with us taking over from Africa Uplifted. So you heard from Julie that we have recruited Port Fona. So he is actually very much effective in terms of leading the connection with the Monaco community, but also the clinic staff and authorities in that part of the country. So recently, earlier this year, we had a demographic survey conducted in that part of the country, in Monaco community, for us to understand the number of communities that the Doris acting facility is actually providing services to. And we that was very successful because now we are able to understand that the number of communities that they are, the 4 communities that they are already serving, that are getting access for medical facilities from the Doris acting clinic facility there. But also part of it is that this year we have also signed an MOU with the UMC, so which is also very effective for how we engage this community. Because signing an MOU with UMC actually clearly detailed the roles and responsibility in terms of what UMC will be doing and also what One Village Partners will be doing, building on the work that we are inheriting from Africa Uplifted. So this work is a work in progress and we'll continue to engage on this. Recently, we had a very effective meeting with UMC representative that were present to actually engage the community and talk about the changes, but also talk about building the confidence and trust of the community of how we'll continue to work with them moving forward. Yeah. So we have a long-term vision, and as I mentioned, we want to be more strategic and very systematic in terms of how we move on to Monaco community. So what we are doing currently is actually an ongoing community engagement with leaders, with other community members and staff of the school and the clinic. This is to actually ensure that we build trust and confidence in the community, but also with the staff, so that we are able to really understand and learn about the cultural and institutional ecosystem, how things are operating in that part of the country. So what would interest you to know is that while we are already working in Sierra Leone, we are predominantly working in the eastern part of Sierra Leone. So going to the north, it also really it will demand a lot of learning and understanding from how the systems or the structures over there operate. So we want to build that confidence, and we want to reassure the community that we are going to continue to engage in. So that has to do with a lot of engagement. And we are also planning in our part of our vision in 2026 to start bringing One Village Partners programs into the Monaco communities and other communities that we are actually being served by Africa Uplifted. So these are the kind of the ongoing kind of long-term vision that we have for the communities. One is to build trust and confidence, also to learn from the institutional ecosystem, but also bring our program into these communities. So thank you very much for listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sheku. Thank you, Julia and Jill. Really quickly before we move into the Q&A, I just want to take a second to share some ways to stay connected with One Village Partners. My name's Taylor. I'm the Donor Communications Officer, and I just wanted to highlight a few different things, and then we'll take the next 10 minutes or so for Q&A for any questions that you have. But if you are wanting to learn more about One Village Partners, hear updates, some great ways to do this are to follow us on social media. We're very active on social media, and we share a lot of really fun and amazing content. We also quarterly have events just like this where we share updates, and we'll focus on things we're excited about for the year, just things that would just be, fun to keep in step with us as we share more about our work in Sierra Leone. And then we also have some in-person events in the Twin Cities area. We have a big event on October 7th called Partner Breakfast that we will definitely share more information with you all about in the future, more like over the summer, we'll share some information. But we also have volunteer opportunities at events as well. So if any of these, if you have any questions of any of these, like volunteering, or you have questions about events, um, like please reach out to us. I'll share our email in the comments when we are in the Q&A portion. But we would love to hear from you and connect with you. And if you want to get involved in any way, we would be so excited about that. So now I'm gonna exit the screen so we can go to the Q&A. And any questions you have about the presentation, we want to take the last little bit and have time to answer those.
No questions?
I've got one. This is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
I believe I saw in the presentation that you'd done a demographic study of Minoko, and is that complete? And I was just curious what you found from that and how that will drive any type of programming or change things.
Good question.
Sheku, I think you're best positioned to answer that one.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think at this point, the demographic survey we conducted was just to understand the number of communities that are getting access from the Doris Acting Health Facility in Manoko, and also trying to know the population size in that part of the country. So this was not really much a more detailed kind of demographic survey, but for now, it's just for us to establish what the population size and the services that are provided to the communities that are getting services from this health and facility. So we will be doing more in-depth kind of demographic survey before we start implementing our programs directly in Manoko. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, did you learn, can you share what the population size is that you were able to determine?
Yeah, we currently we're able to learn that the health facility is providing services to over 4,000 and people.
Perfect.
4,000.
That's bigger than I thought, yeah.
Yes. It's incredible.
Oh, Stephanie.
So this is Sandy Christie. I guess I have maybe a couple questions. First one is, I know that Africa Uplifted was involved in a few other communities in Sierra Leone. Yonibana comes to my mind because I've been there. Are you going to be involved in those other locations as well?
Yeah, with the plan is that we continue services in all of the areas that Africa Uplifted was operating within. Sheku, did you want to add anything? I saw you came off mute.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think Unibana, currently we are also providing services to all of these communities in terms of the providing stipend to teachers at the clinic staff at Unibana, and also the clinic staff at Monaco. And also we are follow-up on maintenance to these facilities when we receive a call from Paul, who is actually the liaison in terms of helping us to connect with these areas. So I think we'll keep up, we'll just continue from what Africa Uplifted was actually doing in those areas.
I'm also interested in the memorandum of understanding with the United Methodist Church. I'm assuming that's just for that specific community, and it does not connect with other communities that the UMC is also involved with in Sierra Leone.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the MOU, I mean, an MOU or memorandum of understanding, of course, it's not legally binding. It's just to make sure we're all on the same page. And so it is between One Village Partners and United Methodist Church about our relationship that we'll have and what it looks like over the next few years for working together. Um, and the reason we thought that was important is because as we are bringing One Village Partners programming into Minocco and surrounding communities, we will be implementing those directly and not via the church. So it's going to be, the relationship changes and we continue to deepen the relationship with the community, but just being really transparent with UMC about how all of that will work and look and making sure we're in a lot of dialogue with them so that we build trust and maintain that relationship through the process.
So is there the potential to work with UMC in other areas of Sierra Leone that you are not already involved with? Part of the reason I ask is my church is involved, and I have been, when I went to Sierra Leone, I was in Biwala, which is way southeast, near the Liberian border. And that's heavily coordinated through OC Ministries, which is located in the Minnesota Annual Conference for UMC. So I'm just curious whether that has the opportunity to spread beyond what your current areas are.
Yeah, I mean, we always are interested in exploring new partnerships, but I will say just by model, our work, the partnership is with the community directly.
Right.
And UMC usually also has the partnership with the community directly. So it's not that we couldn't partner in some ways or share ideas and resources or something like that, but because each of us are partnering directly with communities, there's less space to explore that, I think, in different places where we haven't established it already.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Mm.
Good question, Sandy.
Yeah, really good question.
This is Maureen Peterson. I'm just curious, as you look to expand, how do you decide which communities you're going to go to next? And how do you vet them?
Great question.
Good question. I'll start that, but then Sheku, I would love if you would jump in as well. So largely, I'd say historically, our expansion has been largely operationally based, right? Of like, we started in 3 communities and then as we had an office there. And then we have staff that are, central to the office, we could kind of go a little bit further out from the office. And we've described it as like, as soon as the staff can't actually reach the communities in a decent time on a motorbike, then we like had set up another satellite office to like start from a different space. So a lot of the expansion to date has been just operational in nature because we get a lot of requests from communities that know about our work and they want us to partner as well. But we need to be really mindful about where staff are and making sure it's, at least gonna work out so that they can support all of the communities that they're assigned. But more recently, we just as Shaky was talking about moving into Kono district, that was because we got a grant to bring our women's programming into Kono. And so that one was while we had talked about moving into Kono, and this has been aspirational for us because it is joined with the other districts in which we work. That one was less operationally focused. I mean, Kono made sense because it's close-ish to where we operate, but it's not an easy drive or anything to get there from Kenema. So that's also some of it is a little bit opportunistic as well. Like if there are resources to bring our programming somewhere, we can follow that when it makes sense for and fits within our strategy and values and everything as well. Shiku, is there anything that you want to add to that?
I think you nailed it.
Maureen, did that answer your question?
Yes, that was a great answer. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I think that we'll wrap this up. Julie, is there anything else that you want to share?
Just that, I appreciate all of you coming today to learn more about the partnership. And again, just to thank you for your support and ask you to continue to support One Village Partners because, they're going to continue to work in in Minoko and the surrounding communities, and as well as, branching out. I mean, I said this earlier, Africa Uplifted's motto, was to enrich the lives of the people of Sierra Leone. And that is exactly what One Village Partners does. So thank you.
Awesome.
And I just want to express my thanks as well. Thank you all for just your history of support and all of the love you have for Sierra Leone. And we hope you'll entrust us to be good stewards of that work. We're so excited about this partnership and all of the benefit we think that we can still bring and continue in Minoko. And it's been just so wonderful to get to know Lance and Julie and the few of you that I've met. And just thank you. Thank you for all that you've done. I know Sierra Leone is a very meaningful place for a lot of folks on this call. And we would love to continue to update you on what's going on in Minoko and keep you informed so you feel like it's as seamless as we do.
Yep. Steph?
Everyone for coming.
I apologize for being so tardy. I was actually collecting crutches for Africa for a Rotary group. So I missed most of the meeting, obviously. And I saw that the meeting's being recorded. Is there a way that I can access the recording to the meeting so I can learn what all I missed?
Yes. Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. We will be sharing the recording with everyone. So if you want to rewatch it, you'll definitely have access to that. And we'll send that hopefully soon, like in the next day or so.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming. Thank you again, just to echo what Jill and Julie said, thank you so much for your support. We are so excited for this next chapter. And yes, you'll be hearing from us shortly with the link to the recording if you want to watch it again. Or share it with friends, that's great too. But thank you again for coming, and hopefully we'll see you soon, maybe at another virtual event or in person.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.